This is Richard Kuesling. I'm with GMCstream, and I'm very, very lucky to have a gentleman here with us for this particular moment. We're actually at the Washington, D.C. Satellite Conference in Washington, D.C. And I'm very excited, again, to meet. I just had a chat with him. Ken Peterman. He's ViaSat's president of government systems at ViaSat. Now, if you don't know ViaSat, it's really an American company that has over 30 years has provided advanced broadband, digital satellite communications, and other wireless networking and signal processing equipment and services. The company's defense products include satellite communication products consisting of modems, terminals, and network control systems, as well as advanced multi-functional information distribution systems and simulation test equipment. Now, I know this a lot, Ken. I mean,
It's a mouthful.
It's a big intro, but I noted, as I mentioned before, of your extensive background in government systems, defense, and even in ground and satellite communication programs. Quite remarkable. Can you tell us briefly about your background and your early motivation to focus on defense, ground, and satellite communication programs?
Yeah, thank you, Richard. I've been in defense aerospace all my life. I have a technical degree, electrical engineering degree, in satellite communications and security. And when I came out of school, defense electronics was the great place to be. We were putting satellites in space and developing global positioning systems, and this was all very exciting. So I got into the defense aerospace market nearly 40 years ago now, and I've been in that market my entire career. So I've seen a significant technology trajectory as DoD invented technology to empower the warfighter, and I played a small role in that. And then, of course, most recently, we've seen the private sector embrace this technology and apply it to commercial markets in areas like mobile networking, cybersecurity, and satellite communications. And that has really been an accelerator, because the private sector uses agile development processes and agile development techniques. In many ways, they have a more rapid development process and an enormous amount of funding, because the commercial market for these technologies is so great. Mobile networking, cellular phones, satellite communications, connecting the world via satellite, internet, broadband, these are all powerful market opportunities. So the technology trajectory, now that the private sector has grabbed these technologies, is really accelerating, and that of course comes back to the defense and aerospace industry, and now it empowers the warfighter in remarkable new ways, because the warfighter can adapt and apply these technologies and can declare success in many ways, doesn't have to continue to invent everything. They can apply and adapt, and that's good for the warfighter and good for ViaSat.
Wow, that's more than exciting for me, because the focus is really on the warfighter, so that they're successful in the field. And now I'm going to ask another question, several questions, if you will. The U.S. Pentagon satellite networks keeps our warfighters, which you mentioned, safe, and provides them with the ability to win any war or global insurgency threats. How does the ViaSat's government services fit into this reality? I think you said a little bit about it, but
well, ViaSat is an American success story, founded in 1986. 3 young engineers with $3,500 of startup capital is all, Richard.
Wow. So,
and since in the past 30 years, they've made remarkable advancements in data links, such as Link 16. They have moved into cybersecurity and information assurance, and have a market-leading position in Type 1 security products, and apply cybersecurity across all of our networks, and now satellite communications. So ViaSat has really exploited the movement from the beginning on small business innovative research, SBIR contracts, into becoming a Tier 2 and now a Tier 1 defense prime contractor to provide turnkey satellite communications like our ViaSat I and ViaSat II, as well as data link solutions to improve situation awareness, to improve warfighter decision making, to make our warfighters' jobs safer and more effective. It's an exciting place to be.
Boy, you can say that again. And can you tell us, just out of curiosity, I was wondering who actually manufactured the new ViaSat II, and give us, from a not really, some engineering perspective into this advanced satellite platform that was launched recently.
Yeah, ViaSat II is our second generation satellite technology. ViaSat I was launched in 2011. ViaSat II, of course, comes online last month actually, and we started offering subscriber services. And it leans into ViaSat III, which will be our third generation satellite technology that we'll go global with. So it's an interesting, and Boeing is we use the Boeing bus, and Boeing is our satellite payload manufacturer. Now, one of the things that's interesting, Richard, is there's two primary attributes of satellite technologies. One is coverage, and the other one is capacity. So most companies have focused from the start on global coverage, and Viasat, interestingly enough, did not. Viasat focused on capacity. So government purpose-built satellites like WGS and AEHF have capacity in the single digits of gigabits per second. 3, 5, 7 gigabits per second would be the capacity of those satellites. They were launched in 2007, and that was state-of-the-art in 2007. Viasat brought forward its Viasat I class satellite in 2011 with 140 gigabits per second, so a real game changer in terms of capacity. Viasat II comes along now 4 or 5 years later with twice that, 250 to 300 gigabits per second of capacity. And then Viasat III, 20, 30 months from now, I think we're projecting 2020, it'll have over 1,000 gigabits per second of capacity. So this is game changing in terms of
Definitely is.
Enabling the warfighter with new and enhanced capabilities.
Well, I know that's really powerful news, and what can we expect, if we're looking, I think you might have even answered some of this, from the ViaSat II SATCOM network for government, defense, military applications that require really decision-making speeds for critical reaction operations.
Yeah, so Viasat II is a game changer. When you have 100 times more capacity than the prior generation of satellites, you can do things that have not been possible before. You can use bits or the richness of the network to overcome inefficiencies. You can operate on the move. You can operate with 4K and HD streaming video. You can do video teleconferencing, and you can do concurrent operations that couldn't be done before. So you can video teleconference while you're watching streaming video and those kind of things, so you can support multiple operations. This is game changing for the warfighter, but the richness of the network also enables you to overcome inefficiencies that couldn't be overcome before. So you can use smaller antennas and those kinds of things, because you can overcome those inefficiencies by applying bits or capacity to address the inefficiency and overcome that wasn't possible before. Lastly, it enables you to apply active cyber defense and implement multiple narrower kinds of spot beams and those kinds of things, which enable you to work more effectively in contested environments. And I mean contested environments in terms of RF jamming or a cyber. And those are powerful attributes from a defense and warfighter perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
Game changing.
Oh, definitely game changing. And I'm so glad I'm having this interview with you, because I had no idea the extent of the technology and how far Viasat has moved into this area. I've been a long-time contributor, if you will, and promoter of technologies in Silicon Valley, and of course, what I'm hearing, from other military interests, as I travel along, is the big thing that they talk about is big data and cloud applications. So Ken, speak to us about ViaSat II SATCOM network enhancements to the operational realities of these high data set and capacity applications.
Oh, sure, Richard, thanks. we do big data, we conduct big data analytics on the traffic that flows over our network, and it allows us to optimize network performance in real time. So for example, I think we have about 1,600 commercial aircraft operating on our network. We support several thousand commercial airline flights every single day, and frankly, we have about 2 million individual devices connected to our network every 24 hours. So we look at that data usage patterns, the customer experience, and we optimize our network in real time using a DevOps model. So we're constantly working to optimize our network performance to not just provide the customer the optimum experience today, but to look at the trajectory they're on and be able to project the trajectory and the use case that they'll want to have a week, a month, a year from now, and then to optimize our network in near real time in order to keep pace with that and to intersect with their emergent use cases. This is sort of like if you think of your mobile phone and you have apps that run on your phone. The apps that you run on your phone today are much faster and much more comprehensive and inject artificial intelligence and predictive learning into that application. So it knows if you get up on a weekday morning, it knows you're driving to the office, and it can look at traffic patterns and those kinds of things and provide you advice on how to route your trip. If it's a Saturday and you're a golfer like I am, it knows you're going to the golf course, and it can advise you on how to go to the golf course. So these kinds of these predictive analytics and artificial learning have enormous power when we apply them to our warfighter environment and our defense space, because they enable the warfighter to be more mission effective and enable enhanced ConOps. So it's very powerful. So ViaSat II, with its capacity, is moving this whole defense space forward in terms of bringing these kinds of cloud access and predictive analytical capabilities to benefit the warfighter.
Wow. Wow. You know, ViaSat, of course, is one of the few publicly traded companies in the growing $350 billion space industry. And of course, I'm going to ask you this question. I think I know what the answer is, but what do you contribute that to?
Well, ViaSat's technology is game-changing, and I talked a little earlier in the interview when you asked me before about ViaSat's differentiated strategy. Coverage and capacity are the two principal attributes of a satellite, and ViaSat focused on capacity. ViaSat I had local coverage over portions of the United States. ViaSat II has regional coverage, all of continental United States, and then stretching across the North Atlantic Bridge so that commercial air can fly to Europe and maintain connected. ViaSat III will be the generation that we go global with. So ViaSat I, 140 gigabits per second, ViaSat II doubles that, ViaSat III is 4 times that, so 1,000 gigabits per second of capacity. When we go global with that capability, it's game-changing. First of all, the kinds of application software and the user experience that's enabled or empowered by that kind of capacity and connectivity is unprecedented. So we'll be able to connect the unconnected continents like Africa and the Pacific Rim that can be affordably connected now and reached. And of course, for the warfighter, this is game-changing because it gives them cloud access globally, and that's a game-changing. So with respect to publicly traded companies and stock price, I think that what you're going to see is Viasat getting a lot of interest and a lot of excitement as this capacity rolls forward, and companies that have focused on coverage and have large capital expenses and a large number of space assets, 20, 30, 50 satellites that don't offer near the capacity that a 3-ball constellation of Viasat 3 brings. This is just a much more affordable capital structure in space to bring forward this capacity, and I think people see the value of that, and I think it's going to generate significant investment enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think you articulated that extremely well. Can you tell us, well, you mentioned about the Viasat 3 network. So there's, I think you just mentioned about 3 satellites that would expand the company's coverage to the entire globe. I think you kind of addressed that. And so I'll ask you this question. I'm sure it might be redundant, but what is the goal of Viasat 3 as it applies to speeds?
Well, I'll talk about Viasat 2 first. Viasat 2 is demonstrating 100 megabits per second to an individual terminal, and in fact we've had cases. That's what we formally demonstrated for our warfighters I think a week or so ago, and in some cases we're seeing even more than that now. So that's unprecedented, and so with 100 megabits per second you can do things you've never done before. ViaSat II is going to address that in an even bigger way, because you now have 4 times the capacity of the satellite. So you'll be able to implement an ever-expanding, richer experience, a better, stronger cyber defense, application software that is much more demanding, artificial intelligence, machine learning, virtual and augmented reality. All of these things become possible on a global scale now as ViaSat III rolls out in just a couple of years. 2020 is right around the corner.
Yeah, and it just as kind of a sidebar, what do you know what the launch platform is going to be?
No, we're exploring that. We're in discussions, and I'm sure that we will choose a primary launch platform. We'll have a backup platform in case something happens, but we haven't made that public yet, and frankly, I'm not sure we made those decisions.
Okay, great. ViaSat appears to have focused on GEOs versus LEOs, and I think you again discussed that. Probably millions of small satellites, are now in all low orbit. This is becoming a big thing. I'm not going to comment about what I think about that, but anyway, what's the strategic thinking, if you will, that went into the current and future ViaSat Satcom network in light of that?
Well, GEO has many advantages. Okay, it has a full Earth coverage perspective. So, for example, our first ViaSat III and our second ViaSat III, we've announced they're in production. The first one will go cover all of North and South America, essentially. The second one will cover Europe and Africa. Those kinds of view angles, those coverage footprints are really remarkable. And the cost, or the cost of that capacity is very affordable and well understood. LEOs, of course, are moving rapidly. They have a smaller lifespan, 3 to 5 years. They're over blue water a lot of the time.
Right.
So we're able to marshal capacity from our GEO and dynamically reassign it and reallocate it in real time across the coverage area. So that's very effective. Now, there's a lot of discussion about the use case and the business case for LEOs. We might move into that space, we'll see, but right now that's very much untested and unproven in terms of implementation. So we'll see how it plays out.
Okay, great. Well, we're kind of, I looked at here, we're on number 10 question, so this is conclusion time.
The rubber meets the road.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, I want to thank you very much for the meeting, and if you had any other further comments, it would be nice to have you share them with us.
I would just add that I think that from its roots in 1986, 3 young engineers, a handful of startup cash, to now be nearly 5,000 employees, moving toward a business that is going to be in 100+ countries as we expand globally, and really bring a customer experience to unconnected parts of the world that is going to be game-changing culturally, behaviorally. It's just going to be game-changing. It's very rewarding to be part of it. The technology is remarkable. And how it's going to bring affordable capability to the warfighter in a defense environment is also remarkable. And for me, someone that's been in the defense and aerospace business all their professional life, it's a very exciting time to be able to bring this technology affordable to the warfighter in much faster than a purpose-built government-run development program has ever done. So thank you for the time, and I appreciate it.
Well, there's one more thing I wanted to state, because I think it's important for our subscribers and folks who are going to be looking at this video, is that you guys were honored, as a matter of fact, on March the 1st. You should say something about that. That's really kind of big time. Do you want to say anything about the award that came out of?
We were honored with a Aviation Innovation Award, and it's very exciting for us, very rewarding. We have gotten awards like that before, and I think that you just might see more of that. We've got some very exciting stuff coming out.
Yeah, well, I want to congratulate you, and also the ViaSat organization. It's really been exciting. You really are a great motivator, and thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
You bet. Thank you.